Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minute, episode 297.
Melbourne Cup.
Melbourne Cup, the race that stops the nation. Now you've thrown me off. I don't know if I spelled grey wrong. I'm walking on the grey line. Anyway, it is what it is. It's more about the substance, not the spell check. Fact check, spell check.
I think you got grey. I think you got grey right. Grey. I'm pretty sure. Gray. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Walking.
I think one's American, one's Australian. Hey,
Well,
Jeff Luby, how are you? Happy Melbourne Cup!
Yeah, I think I got it right. I've been watching a lot of American politics, so I'll probably start spelling mum, M-O-M now, and all that stuff.
Mom. Okay, this morning is something that's very, very close to our hearts.
Yes.
And it's walking the grey line. What the hell does that mean? How can you apply it to business? And why is it such a successful ethos to have?
Yes. And I think the big thing that we've always said is consistency. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. So maybe let's talk about it in relation to careers, relationships, and go from there.
Kids.
So careers, talk us through, because I know you've been an adamant talker of this ever since.
I swear the most successful people in my world that I know are very, very good at walking the grey line. It is very hard to do. Not many people can do it, and the fruits are absolutely incredible if you can walk the grey line.
And so we see that with, as you said, some of our most successful clients, property owners, career people. They're basically just doing the same thing over and over again. Family people. So
they're not swapping out their wives every 5 years. They're not swapping out their children. They're not swapping out their properties. They're not swapping out their careers. They're not swapping out their industries. They are sticking to what they know, and they are walking the grey line. There are massive fruits.
Now we got a lot of agents on, and let's go through a good example of that with real estate agents. So what we tend to find is an agent, when things are going tough or you're going through basically a rut, their first thought and act is it's the officer's fault, and life would be so much better at another office. The grass is so green. And then they change. Nothing changes, or they may do a little bit better initially because they've got the new energy within themselves, but then they go back through that other rut. They change again. Like, there is nothing worse than when you see an agent in a 5-year career have 3 agencies, 3 offices, and you're just like, man, what are you doing? Like,
it's tragic. It's absolutely tragic. And same with marriages. You see a person that's married a couple of times. Look, I get it. Sometimes you just don't nail it in the first marriage. But when you see people do it 3 or 4 times, you're like, man, life's really beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, living in one city is beautiful. You get to weave a network, in society, in the fabric of society. You have friends, you have families, you have careers, where something is. There is a beautiful thing, guys and girls, in working with what you've got and sticking to what you know. And it's just so common. Like, another example is my oldest daughter, who's 22, year 9, year 10. She wanted to leave that year because she was having some, there was a bit of bullying and stuff going on. And I said to her, look, you're going to get this at work. You're going to get this in life. You're going to get this in another school. Work with what you've got.
Yeah.
Make it happen. Walk the grey line and just get through it. Break through that glass ceiling. And she did. So, a year later, she was loving it again. But, it's one of those things where we could have taught her to jump out, and then when it gets too hot, just jump out and jump in, and then you're doing that your whole life.
And it's about having that accountability and working on yourself. Like, when it comes to school, if you looked at kids who weren't popular at one school, changed to another school, they're just not popular. You rarely see someone who's unpopular go to being the star. It's because you got to work on yourself. And if you run from challenges or any adversity, it breaks you. You've got two options. You sort of curl up in the fetal position, or you get up and keep moving forward. So the exact same thing relates to a career as well. You go through good times, bad times, but if you keep running from it, changing, people underestimate how much damage changing does as well, the momentum, but also to yourself. Obviously, there are real examples and real reasons why you may make a shift, which is okay. But I reckon 80% of the people who make changes, first of all, they're blaming other people and they've done nothing wrong.
Look in the mirror.
Look in the mirror.
Exactly. Have a good look in the mirror at yourself and say, right, because at the end of the day, it's really hard to change people.
Yes.
But it's much easier to change yourself.
Exactly right. What's that saying? Like you can't control someone's reaction, but you can't control someone's action, but you can control your reaction. So, and that's got to set in. And I think a lot of people who are very successful in their jobs and careers, with their headline of today's show, walking the grey line. To a lot of people, it may sound boring. When you hear someone's worked in the one job or career for 30 years, you're like, fuck. One, that must be boring. Like, how do you do it, sort of thing. But that's the tough thing. You're having the excitement of changing, because let's face it, as much as it can also be shit, it is exciting. New people, new career, changing it up, new atmosphere, new local cafe to go to, new gym, all that stuff. But what's it doing to yourself?
Absolutely. Look, a good friend of mine, gentleman called Mr. Santo Severino, runs reception centres on the northern beaches. A dear friend of mine. I talked to him for half an hour on Sunday. It was his 70th birthday, and happy birthday. We're going to see him today at Manly Pavilion. We're going to see him there. It's going to be great. But, this is a guy, 70 years, and I said, and he is stuck to the same core business. He has stuck to the same core business for over 50 years. For 50 years, he has been looking after people. Hey, Anmal, very true. When something is broken, you fix it, don't replace it. On a deeper level, this is very true with careers and relationships. Spot on. But back to Santo Severino, this is a guy that's stuck. Him and his wife have stuck to each other. They have stuck to their kids, loyal. They have stuck to their industry, loyal. They have stuck to property, loyal to property, as in they're not swapping them out every year or two. But there are beautiful things, like 50 years in an industry, the amount of people that he's made happy, the craft how sharp he has sharpened his blade has been just incredible. Whereas, again, it goes back to walking that grey line, guys. Yes, it's boring, but yes, there are beautiful things that will keep manifesting from it. Seriously.
Yeah, and there's things, and don't mistake keeping on the grey line as never innovating, never evolving, not self-educating. Like, you may be doing the same thing, like, for example, selling real estate, but you're constantly innovating how to do it better, how to change it, how to educating yourself. So you're getting that excitement and advance through it, but you're keeping to the core fundamental. G'day, Michael. How are you? Like, it's when you see, and we've all got those friends. One day they're doing finance. The next day they're a landscaper. The next day they're a personal trainer. The next day they're selling some pyramid scheme, something like that. Like, they're just constant, and you're like, man, you're all over the shop. If you believe in the principle that you've got to do 10,000 hours of the one thing to be an expert, like, you're doing 10 things shit, like really. So, and Mark, you always say this good story about the shrink in the eastern suburbs about partners and their sort of midlife crisis, and do you want to go through the few things, the sex, the drugs, and that's with the career, so that relationship.
Absolutely, it's on the same tangent. So one of the biggest hey.
And then Admar goes, they are an Uber driver. So true.
That's
They
right.
change. Yeah.
But one of the most successful psychologists in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, I was having a bit of a chat to him, and not on a, not because I was
Not
using his
professionally,
services.
socially.
He's a personal friend, and
Yep.
and I was saying to him, look, hey, just out of interest, so this is a guy that's consulting some of the most powerful people in Sydney. I'm talking seriously powerful people in Sydney. He's consulting their families. He's the best of the best. And I said, look, where does it go wrong? Because we were talking about his work and stuff like that. I said, where does it go wrong? He says, Mark, I've been doing this for almost 40 years now. He says, I'll tell you where it goes wrong. And I was listening hard. I'm like, there's going to be good oil coming out of this one. This is a guy, an amazing person with a lot of experience dealing with incredible people. And I said, where does it go wrong? He said, okay, you're listening? I said, yeah. He says, these guys can live where they want, whatever they want, drive whatever they want, travel wherever they want. They can eat whatever they want. These guys are some of the most powerful people in Sydney. And he said, when you live a life of beige, and I was like, what do you mean? He said, when you live a life of beige, I said, what's beige? He goes, everything's perfect. Every single thing in your life is perfect. You cannot want or wish for more. He said, guess what the human does? I said, what? He goes, sex, drugs, or rock and roll. I said, what do you mean? He goes, they want to screw it up. They want to F it up. They want to add, it's all going so perfect. It's all so good. They want to mess it up because it's too perfect. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Sex, they'll have an affair. Drugs, that's an obvious one. Rock and roll, they'll start partying, getting out there, going crazy, which then goes back to the drugs and sex. So it does. And he said the reality is that that's what people. Goes back to what we're saying now. Walking that grey line is really, really hard. When you've got everything going good at work, you sort of want to take it up a notch, another level. Don't screw it up and mess it up.
Yeah, and even for the average Joe who don't have it all, but they've got and it applies for them as well, where things are great and they just change it or they just dance, they get off the grey line. But then those people, what they want some more excitement. Like they've got the, I don't know, typical suburban lifestyle, wife, kid, house, good income. They're safe sort of thing. But then they fuck it up with those things. But what they could look to do is maybe go on an extra trip, buy that car as a luxury. Like you've got to do your so some people look for the excitement. And sometimes they self-destruct and blow up their career because they want to adventure. The whole thing. They blow up the wife because it's an adventure. But there's things that you could do which are a little bit more realistic. Buy a car, go on a trip with, like, just things like that. Try and bring more.
Buy a horse,
your daily
buy a
life.
tractor, whatever makes you happy, And I think you said it well, Michael, just before you started what you said. This has nothing to do about money. I know I gave you the example of this guy in the East and these people, they can do whatever they want. But it's about what that grey line or that life of beige. That life of beige, isn't talking about money. It's just that sometimes it's all going so right and all going so perfect, it becomes boring for people.
Yeah.
And they do sex, drugs, or rock and roll.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, that's a wrap with Dr. Phil here. Have you looked at any of the tips for the Melbourne Cup? No favourites. I haven't looked at anything actually. Melbourne Cup tips.
No, I haven't. I don't know. I don't know who to.
You don't really
tips
gamble.
Out there, guys? No, any tips? Give us some tips, guys. Get some comments in there.
Yeah.
Anmal, Michael, give us some tips.
I haven't.
Who are you betting for? Who are you betting for today?
Yeah, who will win Melbourne Cup? When experts reveal their tips. Damien Tiger Moth, what a name. Good to love the horse names. Very elegant Russian Camelo. Anyway, We'll see. Whoever they
Russian
tip
Camelot.
doesn't win anyway. Whoever they tip doesn't win
I'm going
anyway.
Russian Camelot. That's a cool name.
Yeah. Alrighty, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 7:45 a.m. Boom.
And sharing. That was a bit of a Novak secret today. Very close to our hearts. How we roll. Hope it helped people out there with property. How do you relate it back to property? One, it's how we built our business. Two, it's I would say it's probably out of all of our landlords, Michael, the takeaway nugget. It's probably the number one secret to our most successful investors that we look after.
Yeah. The favorite Admiral, everyone, that Russian one keeps coming up. A few people pick them. I'll put a link in here. This is one of them.
Who's the favorite though?
I'd have to check Sportsbet. Sportsbet.
You sound like a pro, man.
Yeah. The real favourite's what the betting odds are, nothing else. Oh, shit. Hang on. Sportsbet Melbourne Cup. One, okay.
And the favourite for today is, if you don't know, the favourite for Melbourne Cup. It's good. And you know what? What a great day it is as well. Look at the blue skies.
Wow. Anthony Van Dyck, $9.50, I believe. Let me have a quick. That's high odds. Let me just skim through the odds, make sure it's high. $8.
Is that the horse? Is that the horse's name or the jockey?
Yeah. Horse. Surprise Baby. How good's that one? $8. Tiger Moth, $6.50. Yeah, they're your favorites. Tiger Moth. I like Surprise Baby. How good's that? Whoop, you're pregnant.
But the number one's who? What's it? Anthony Van Dyck.
Tiger Moth.
Is that the favourite?
Nah, Tiger Moth.
Tiger Moth's the favourite.
What do you reckon? And rate cut or hold? I predicted hold, but I didn't really look at it.
Oh, I reckon rate cut. There's been so much talk about it, so much noise about it. I can't see why not. And you know what? If they're going to give us a Christmas present because of COVID, it's going to be this.
I was about to say that would be the one before this would be it, wouldn't it?
It's the last one. This is the last rate cut for probably, I think, 3 months now. I don't think they meet in December. I don't think they meet in January. They may meet in February. I think it's actually March they come back. So it's the last rate cut. It's going to hold us for 3 months probably.
Wow, yeah. All righty. That's a wrap, guys.
Amar reckons cut. See you, man. Take care. Thanks, Amar. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Love ya.
Boy.
Bye.